Welcome back to Hot Flash Happy Hour. I'm Tori.
And I'm Kat. And today's conversation feels like one that so many women are quietly having in their heads, but not always out loud.
Yeah, that experience of loving your partner, being in a good relationship, but just not feeling the desire anymore and not really understanding why. And then immediately goes to, is it my hormones? Is this just aging? Is this it now?
Yeah, definitely. So, we're really excited to bring in someone who works deeply in this space and really understands what's going on beneath the surface. We're joined by Dr. Julie Merriman, therapist, professor, and intimacy expert for women over 50. And she's also the author of Are We Gonna Have Sex or What?
Welcome, Dr. Jules. It's so lovely to have you here.
I'm honored to be with you lovely ladies. Thank you.
So before we get into it, we'd actually love to just start with you, Dr. Jules. Tell us a bit more about yourself and how you got into this line of work.
Yeah, it's been a journey. It's been a journey because when I started this line of work when I was in my late 20s and 30s, I had all my hormones and everything was working like it was supposed to. But and as a professor, it's publish and perish. So you have to have an area of research. And actually, I started researching. My first book is called In Pursuit of Soul Joy. It's about compassion, fatigue, and burnout. And as I looked through that, and as I aged myself and had my little crisis when I was about 45, it was, I crashed and burned like a plane, just burned.
Yep.
Um, but when that happened, it really got me curious. What in the hell is happening to me? What is going on? And as we usually are, we're our best avatar, right? We go through it and then we think, oh, something there's something to be looked at there. And so as I aged, and my client, it's interesting. I'm also a registered play therapist. So in the beginning, I worked with a lot of families and kiddos. But as I've aged, my clientele has aged. So as I've worked with my patients and such, I've realized that there really is a need to be very interested and explore women beyond hormones and beyond just we're broken because we're not. We're absolutely not broken. But that's what got me interested. It was my own personal crash and burn, if you will. Um, love doing what I'm doing. It is so fun to see women have their homecoming, and that's what I like to call it.
Yeah. Love that. It kind of, similar for us is that we're kind of doing the things we're doing now because of similar reasons, getting into that part of midlife and things change and you're like, who am I now? And all that kind of thing. So definitely sounds, I think we all get that.
Wait, I had a complete identity crisis. I'm 63 now, I mean, like, I know who I am now.
Yeah.
I excavated the Julie under everything, but y'all, I got married at 16 now. It's not necessarily a Texas thing. It was a very dysfunctional family. and and we are not married anymore. I'm here, let me just say that. But I he was not a very nice person. I don't wanna bash him, but, I was told I was too stupid to go to college, I was too stupid to do anything, and that really shaped my early years, if you from it's like I wasn't even pregnant. Tell me I got pregnant. I mean, got married. So, but I started my career I mean, I didn't hit college till I was about 24, and I started my career thinking I was behind, and that really shaped my career and how I just basically just beat the hell out of myself. I served and served and served and did not have any replenishment happening and didn't I mean, I can remember 18-hour days where I'd go teach aerobics in the morning because I love to teach aerobics, and I'm aging myself there, right? Do we do aerobics anymore? But but I'd work my day job, and then I'd go to my private practice. So, I'd start at 5 in the morning and crawl back home around 9 that evening. I wouldn't pack a lunch. And knowing I was gonna do this, I'd get in the car. And now for anyone else, I would have stopped and said, "No, you're gonna have a nice nourishing meal," but not me.
Mhm.
I'd look for
Yeah.
crumbs on the floor and off we go. So, I mean, think about what that's doing, and I'm not the only woman that's done that. Along the way, we're raising children, and here in Texas, we're getting kids to football teams, and
Yeah.
various things.
Mm.
All this and we're holding families together and keeping our parents together. So, we get to middle age and we have a bit of an identity crisis, for lots of reasons, and we'll talk about that. But,
Yeah.
um that excavation was so rich, and it helps life on the other side feel so much better.
Yeah. So let's get into the main part of today's topics. Something we hear all the time is that this is just hormonal, that losing desire is kind of inevitable at this stage of life. Is this actually true, or is something else going on?
I giggle because I think it's absolute BS. Now, yes, first, hormones are important. I take hormones. I think they're absolutely important, but it is so much more than hormonal things going on. Lots of things happen about the time we hit 45, 50. We've been running on that treadmill, that grind for so many years. We You wake up one day and you go, "Is this it? Is this all there is to life? I'm just killing myself doing this, and I'm not feeling any kind of reward." Our nervous system has become so fried that by the time we hit midlife, I think our estrogen does a lot to help our brain function, which I didn't realize that till I started researching, all this yummy stuff. And I think what happens by the time we hit midlife, that tolerance that we had for putting up with all this stuff has gone out the window. And we're like, what? I'm not doing this anymore. I can't live like this anymore. Something has got to change. So it's not just hormones. There's lots of things that come together, but we also have a nervous system. And I love our nervous system. It is doing what it's been designed to do. Our amygdala is scanning for danger and going, "It's a saber-toothed tiger. You're going to die." If you set a boundary or something. Um,
Yeah.
but we've been living on this cocktail of adrenaline and cortisol for so many years. I think by the time we get to midlife, we're like, I can't do it like this anymore. We've got to look at doing these things different. So I think it's kind of the perfect storm. Hormones um, go away a bit. The family is changing. I know of course, imagine this. I had my kids early. I know that's shocking. And you hit midlife and babies are leaving home to go to college or whatever.
Yeah.
And you look across the dinner table and I mean, I've been married to my husband about 40 years now, and you look across and it's like, "You? Yeah, I don't even know you anymore." Um, just all kinds of things are coming together, but that nervous system being in the sympathetic state or the dorsal vagal state. Sympathetic is that fight or flight. That's where we get those hits of cortisol and adrenaline. Also some dopamine. We can talk about that in a minute. Our receptors kind of get messed up when we live in survival mode all the time because they're like, "I don't know what you're trying to tell me anymore." So, um, but that dorsal vagal state is the freeze. When someone asks you how you feel and you're like, "Hell, I don't know how I feel. I haven't lived in this body in so many years. I don't know." So when we're in survival state for so long, our brain is very selfish with energy. That frontal cortex is gonna he's we've told her, I'm in survival state." So she says, "Well, you don't need desire, and you don't need pleasure, and we'll talk about digestion." Anyway, we'll see how that works out, but that's what being in, that survival state for so long does to our body. It's we've Here's how I have experienced the ladies I've worked with, they are floating heads of competence. They are so intelligent and so lovely, but so disconnected from their body. That's why I use a lot of chakra psychology and a lot of somatic psychology to try and help them get re-embodied so that we can feel. We have to feel before we can start getting out of survival mode.
Yeah. Wow. That's actually, wow, really interesting. That makes a lot of sense, though. Like, makes so much sense.
Yeah.
And then, we also get this other added layer, as we talked a little bit just before. Things start shifting, like your kids are getting older and leaving home. Um, your relationships, even how you see yourself, that all kind of starts to change. And what do you notice changing for women in this stage that really affects their connection to themselves?
Um, well, a lot of things are changing. I think, I think the biggest thing I've noticed is that awakening of I can't do this like this anymore. I'm so much more than my to-do list. Now, see, for so long, and I don't know about in Australia, but I know about in Fort Worth, Texas in 1960s, we were socialized to appease. I mean, if as women, we were socialized to appease and please and serve. And by the we've been doing that a lot of years. By the time we hit midlife, we know I mean, we're wiser than we've ever been. And I think we can pull from a lot more things and think, wait a minute. This isn't the full life that I had planned for myself. I'm going to try to not serve everyone, right? You know,
Agreed.
the kids can
Yeah.
learn to wash their clothes. I notice with women too, um, and I think this leads to the homecoming and kind of the awakening is, yeah, we've swallowed our truth for so many years to keep the peace. Well, that's our throat
Mhm.
chakra going into our heart chakra. And then we notice this resentment because if our needs aren't getting met, that's a natural place to go. And then we've been told, oh, that's a naughty feeling. You can't feel resentful. No, no, then we have shame for feeling that way. And is this, so
Mhm.
really, I like to look at resentment as a sacred resentment that has so much juicy information for us if we will just get embodied and really listen to what our body is trying to tell us because she is. I mean, all the things that starts happening in midlife is our body going, girlfriend, you can do this different. Um, but it's that identity crisis I mentioned earlier. I think I see that is the entry point for so many women. Is this it? It is who
Yeah.
am I? If I'm
Mhm.
not a mom, who the hell am I? If I'm a roommate with my spouse, and I'm changing mom's diapers. I mean, a lot of things start hitting in midlife that really is an awakening. And it's exciting. I mean, on the other side of it, at 63, I feel like a kid in a candy store. I'm having a big time, but but I was not having at
Yeah.
45. That
Yeah. Gosh, yeah, so much of that just really resonated, and I know Kat agrees with that.
Well, in a way, I mean, you could be like me, and we were late starters, late finishers with children. So I've still got a 13-year-old at 56, which is, yeah, that's the other end of the spectrum, I guess, is when, all those ones that have started late in life. So we're going through that, but also still have the child at home. One's left, one's of age, but you still got that young one sort of tagging behind, if you will.
Yeah, that kinda gives it a whole, well, that gives it an interesting spin.
Mm.
You're still I mean, I would think your body's still going through what your body's going through, and then
Yeah.
um, it our children are blessings, but our children are a lot of work.
Yeah.
They just parenting's the hardest thing we could possibly I don't think we'd do it if we knew beforehand, just it's rewarding, and I didn't know I could love something as much as I love my children, but whoa, it's a lot of work.
And the last one is
Grandkids
like,
are
oh god.
yes, yes, so I think that adds even a more interesting layer for you is I'm going through all this, and then I still have these things I still have got to get done,
Yeah.
um, and you will, and you'll
Yeah.
it'll be fine, but
Yeah.
I I see a lot of ladies I work with, that myth, we can't pour from an empty cup? I mean, I think it's a myth because I see women pouring from empty cups
Mm.
all day, every
Yeah.
day. And the danger is we become the empty cup. And that's I think that's where that identity crisis entry point really happens is there's nothing here anymore. Who am I under all this service?
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. I have become a little bit, I guess, I don't know if selfish is the word, but I make sure that she knows that, no, I need my time. I just, don't do
that is
drama.
not
Haven't got
selfish.
time for that. So, um, I just need some time out. I need the time out. Oh, don't put myself in the
You.
corner.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tori
That is
knows. She's back. Yeah, we just
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, Keely does love to talk lots.
talk. So I put myself in time out. And yeah,
well, and there's nothing selfish about that. That is
No.
self-intelligence. That is knowing that I've got to have this little time. Everyone's gonna be happier for it.
that's it. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I I really feel like a lot of women don't even realize what's happening. They know something feels off, but what are the signs that you see where you're like, well, this isn't loss of desire. This is actually shutdown.
Right. First, I see desperation. What's wrong with me? Something has happened to me. What is wrong? What is wrong? And I just want to normalize that for ladies. Nothing is wrong. You are not broken. Think if we've been living in that survival state for 20, 30 years, think how you brace. I mean, I'll have first thing, we'll squeeze our shoulders and drop. And I invite everyone to do that in audience, squeeze and drop and notice, oh, I didn't notice I was tensing. Well, that's happening. I mean, our pelvic floor tenses as well. And that's where all our genitals, that's where a lot of really important nervous centers are. And they're really choked out of blood flow when we're tensing like that. And we've been doing that for years. I mean, there's a lot of numbness going on beyond just feeling numb. But my ladies, they come in, they talk about feeling numb. They talk about oh, I have one lady and we were talking about, well, working towards sex with her husband again, and she was like, oh, I can't even imagine that. It just when you're when you're stuck in that sympathetic state, you feel so overwhelmed. The thought of bringing pleasure back online can just feel like one more thing on my to-do list. Don't want to go there. And it can come back online. Please know it comes back online. Everyone, do not lose hope. But um, a husband or partner reaching out, wanting to be affectionate can, yeah, and he or she might have it innocent. I'm just reaching out and touching. But for a person stuck in survival mode, that feels like another chore to do, something I have to do, and it can be irritating as hell. Like, I don't want anyone touching me. I don't wanna be responsible for anyone. Um, and I also and I've done marriage counseling. I mean, that's been part of my practice for 30 years, and I love it. Um, but partners will come in, and they feel like they've lost the love, right? They just don't know where love went. Um, they love the partner, right? Like like sister or brother, I love this partner, but I don't know I'm in love. And after we work and get that nervous system kind of settled and help her get back into that ventral state, she it's amazing to watch how relationships can blossom. And you know what? And I've got it in the book. Yeah, it's shocking to me. I here these are adults, right? Probably middle-aged adults, been married for 20 or 30 years, and they've never had a conversation about sex. They don't even have the words to have that conversation. And regardless where your nervous state is, connection is eminently important. And that root chakra has got to be balanced so you feel safe in your body. And we are stuck in survival mode. We don't feel safe. It pulls everything offline. But once you can get that safety back in there and help the partner, I mean, you got to talk. And,
Yeah.
Um, even if I put scripts in the book because I had people going, well, I don't know what to say. Like, well, let's get you, give you some tips to get that started. But that connection helps that safety come back online too. And when she is in ventral state and very safe in her body, magic happens. Magic happens. That frontal cortex, yeah, the frontal cortex comes online, back online. Y'all, when we are stuck in survival mode like that, and someone says, "Well, just go meditate." I mean, you're sitting there going, "I've meditated for 500 hours. It's not working." Well, that frontal lobe is not it's not available because the brain is like, "We
Yeah.
don't have time for this shit. We're
Yeah.
not we are not meditating right now." So,
Yeah. Yeah.
anyway.
It's got a saber-toothed tiger coming at us. So
Yeah. Yeah. Right. I'm gonna get eaten if I sit here another minute. That
yeah. And then we then tend to get the advice, which is usually not that helpful, like just schedule it, spice things up, which feels like adding pressure to something that already feels hard. So
Right.
why does that approach tend to backfire?
Well, what you just said, pressure. I've got 5,000 things on my to-do list. Are you kidding me? Now I have to perform. And I know a lot of women I work with have had obligatory sex for years. And that teaches our body that, well, we're lying to our body. And I mean, we got to really be honest with our body first. Our faking orgasms, just he wants to hear an orgasm so I can get over it, when she fakes that orgasm. And I mean, and again, we're lying to our body, and that little nervous system is going, okay, if you say so. So scheduling sex, while I know a lot of beautiful, wonderful, highly educated sex therapists invite that, I highly discourage it. It's one more thing for your nervous system to have to perform, and it takes spontaneity out of it. And that's another thing, ladies. Um, about 10 to 15% of women have spontaneous desire, wake up horny. So let's say the very low numbers. Most of us, about 85 or more percent, it's responsive desire. And we have to hold space for that and bring curiosity with that and lots of self-compassion. As we age, I mean, at 63, I'm happy to say we have great sex. My orgasms are great, but it takes me a hot minute longer to get there. And your partner needs to allow that. And we need to allow that, not think something's wrong with us, because it's not. It's just, I would much rather have these orgasms than my 20-year-old orgasms that might popped out pretty quick, but they weren't near as deep. But I think it's important for women to love on themselves and understand it's responsive desire. A responsive desire comes up. So it's contextual, and we need to be sure things are set in place first, that we're in ventral vagal state, which is that's social, that's connected, that's the playful place where we want to be. Our nervous system says, ooh, this body's safe. Let's do what we need to do. So just getting there is very important. And that's a good conversation to have with your partner about, the fact is my body is aging. My mom's butt got attached to my body. I don't know when that happened, but but it did. That, and this is the girl who teaches aerobics still, but your body's going to change, and that's the way it was made to happen. And I think we hold a lot of false beliefs that we still need to look a certain way when we're looking at desire, and that puts that pressure on us too. Scheduling, forcing through something, being in a space where we can learn to really accept, I'm okay. I pushed myself so hard, my immune system got so weak, I ended up with breast cancer. And which is that's a cautionary tale, ladies. Please be sure, take care of yourself. Early mammograms, but in that, I had to have a double mastectomy and a complete reconstruction, and I let my husband in on choosing things, which was fine. It was fun and playful and foreplay, if you will. But I got to keep my nipples, which if you have a really good surgeon, you can with a double
Oh,
mastectomy.
wow.
Yeah, um, but where my nipples used to have a lot of sensitivity, they don't as much now. And I'm just sharing that as an example. Ladies, our bodies change, and we've got to enjoy that ride. And you better believe I'm thankful to still be alive and able to experience some things in my body without putting the pressure. I guarantee you, I've talked with a lot of men around this over the years. I've never talked with a man yet that cared if the legs were shaved, cared if there was cellulite, cared if there were if there's some pounds flopping around on the tummy. He didn't. He wants to feel desired back. I think that's the biggest gift we can bring as we're getting that nervous system regulated, and taking pressure off the table. That's so important. Take that pressure off the table, and that self-talk. It's what we're
Yeah.
saying to ourselves.
Mm.
Yeah, what we're saying to ourselves. Oh, no obligation. Take expectations off the table. Arrive curious. I'm telling y'all that's different. When you arrive judgmental, I'm not saying y'all. This is a figurative view. Me, when I arrive at something judgmental, like Julie, that just I'm saying mean things to myself that gets my nervous system all dysregulated, and I'm not going to show up feeling safe and ready to do anything. So if I show up curious, without judgment, and with self compassion, I promise that's a different state to show up in. curiosity is amazing, and it takes obligation off the table.
So I guess if forcing it isn't the answer, there obviously needs to be a different way back to this, I guess. What does that actually look like?
Yeah. Excuse me. Well, I've got a 3-phase shift, and I expanded in the book. It got longer as I wrote more about it, but my grandmother always said, "Keep it simple, silly." I won't say what she actually said, but she said, "Simple, silly." So simple. I mean, and ladies, this is so simple. This is stuff we learned in kindergarten. You take the sex out of it. I did not learn about sex in kindergarten. That's not what I'm saying, but you gotta regulate. That's the first phase, and that can look very different. I guarantee you all 3 of us would need to do something a little different to regulate because our nervous system has arrived where we are, and we just, love it and appreciate what it's done for us, but you wanna calm your nervous system, you gotta reduce that cortisol. You've got to redu we have to metabolize that every time we dump that. And I the doctor did not agree with me, but I'm confident my breast tumors were cortisol, just wrapped up. I mean, I'm making that up. The doctor was like, "Yeah, Julie, I don't think so," but but to regulate, and of course, I live out in the country in a beautiful, area. I've got oak trees and pecan trees, and, I mean, it's just gorgeous. I want my ladies, wherever they are, to walk outside for 5 minutes without a phone, without, sunscreen, at least for 5 minutes. We need that vitamin D. We need to be in nature. If it's warm enough, take your shoes off, make sure there's no dog poo, rub your feet in the grass. I mean, those are things that help us get grounded. We are from nature and we need to go back into nature. Even I just got back from some TV interviews in New York City where there's not you'd think, well, there's no nature. Yes, there were beautiful tulips. There were, wherever you live, you can find a little piece of nature to be with, and that helps with that regulation piece. And then reconnecting is very important where and that's while you're regulating, that reconnection is the piece where you're looking at sensation, touch without pressure, slowing down. So, like on my podcast, Sex After 50, this Friday, I always put an activity in my podcast because I'm a professor at Bloom's taxonomy. You got but the activity was to sit next to your partner on sofa, wherever it might be. Hold hands. That's sensation. Just feel. No expectations. In fact, sex is off the table. You cannot have sex. It's off the table. We are just reconnecting. But touch is very important. And really, so often we might hold hands and you're not connected. I'm talking about putting your mind's eye in those hands and feeling the warmth, feeling the pressure, feeling is there, I didn't, what's it called? Callus. The texture of everything, being very present. And as I said, that touch cannot lead to sex. We are just touching. We are just connecting and slowing all of this down. And a really good way to do that, and one reason I love the chakras is it's different language, but it's the same thing. A neuroscientist is gonna talk about the vagus nerve, and a yoga instructor is gonna talk about, the chakra system, and they are basically talking about the exact same thing in different language. They line up exactly the same. Um, so if we can take a big deep breath, I like to do a rectangle breath, 4 in. Oh, it's really not a rectangle. It's probably like a triangle. We're not gonna go to geometry because I suck at that, but you breathe in, let's say for 4. You exhale for 6, but you make a noise. Oh. That helps with the vagal tone, which runs through your, throat chakra. That's where our truth lays. And I can't tell you how many times when I start working with ladies on that throat chakra, tears, tears, tears come out. So much has been swallowed. But sitting with your partner, holding hands, making that noise together, which sounds like a fake orgasm. You're ooh. But I mean, sounds like an orgasm. It's fake. Anyway, but that's very good for that slowing down piece and just starting some conversations with your partner that maybe you've never had around those things. And then the reawaken, which goes with the curiosity. I'm big on curiosity. If you ever have a conversation with me, I don't care if we're having coffee at Starbucks. We're going to talk about curiosity because it's so important. Um, and that emotional connection, which starts, you got to talk. You gotta have to have those words, um, and intentional intimacy. And I really encourage couples as they're trying to bring things back online, sex goes off the table for a while. We might I send them to a sex store. We have some really high-end sex stores here in Fort Worth that are so fun to send couples to. Um, Buy a new vibrator, not to use on genitals, but at first to use what anywhere in your body. Let's just find where pleasure lives because we have lost that. We've been so busy. Oh, I forgot my that feels so good on my wrist. Oh, my ankles. I love that. And as they do that progressively, eventually we get to genitals, but it's just to bring that's connection. You're talking, you're telling your nervous system, I'm safe. We can explore. And that's curiosity and novelty. Your desire needs novelty. Or it's sitting back smoking a cigarette going, this is boring as hell. Like, yeah, not showing up. No. It's out of the smoking area. Um, Novelty is very important, and it doesn't mean like new sex positions are great. Just stretch at our age at my age, you need to stretch before you don't break anything. But novelty also means like my husband and I just got back from Spain where we did a boat tour around the, coast. That was just so fun and so yummy and novel. So novelty looks really can look a lot of different ways, but we've gotta keep that in our long-term relationships because it pays off with play and with desire and pleasure. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Which I guess then brings us into, that long-term relationships do shift, and sometimes you wake up and realize that your partnership is more like, your roommates. Um, do you see this happening in relationships, and what do you see happening in relationships that contributes to this?
Yeah, absolutely, I see it. The number one culprit is resentment. And lack of communication, but I think that's chicken and egg. I think lack of communication leads to resentment. Um, and a lot of if you look at Sue, she emotional focused therapy. What is Sue's last name? It doesn't matter. I'm not gonna spend a lot of time there, but she gave us emotional focused therapy. I use that a lot with couples. If you there's a lot of wounding that happens in relationships long term, and it might be just like little paper cuts, but y'all know multiple paper cuts hurt. And in relationships long term, we have multiple paper cuts that lead to, and we get in these dances. Um, and she names 5 dances in emotional focus therapy, but couples get into these routines and, um, you're gonna do this and I'm gonna do that and we're gonna do that. I mean, and a lot of times it's not a real healthy kind of dance that we're doing. So it's very important long term to start stepping back and being courageous and talk now I'm not talking about keeping score. Please don't keep score. That that helps no one, but with iMessages, I feel hurt when I don't feel seen. A woman needs to feel seen. She needs to feel valued, and he does too. I mean, there's another book I use in therapy. It's more Christian oriented, but the message is great. The message is men need to feel respected, women need to feel loved, and that gives you a lot of good information as you're working
Mhm.
on relationships, but helping both of them to have words to talk about their needs will help that resentment to die down, and by that, I mean, as I said earlier, resentment is really about not getting your needs met, not feeling like you have a voice in the relationship, not feeling like you are an important player in the relationship. And so really helping them to see that we can talk about things and it is safe to talk about things and play, please play. I mean, we spend so much time being serious and wanting to be mad and move it to "Well, let's play. Let's take that energy, open up that sacral chakra and let some playtime come out and creativity. And maybe they need to get with a marriage counselor to work through some of those things safely, to find those words. In more marriage counseling, a lot of what I do is help them learn how to have that ebb and flow of conversation and have safety in those conversations. But you've got to take care of that resentment and you've got to get connection back on board through communication.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
So that's a big one. It feels like what women are told to do versus what they actually need are two very different things. So what do you think that women actually would need here?
Well, that emotional safety. If we don't feel safe, we're going to stay. I don't know. Have y'all ever been really upset about something and you're all up here in your head, and maybe your child came in needing something or your boss needed something, and you're no more there than man the moon. You go through a few acts, to try and get that passed. When we're escalated like that, that's your nervous system dysregulated. We don't feel safe in our body. We as long as we're dysregulated like that, we don't feel safe in our body. And I don't mean like someone's going to come stab us. It's more of a um well, it's the saber-toothed tiger thing, we if I've had women honestly believe they're gonna get eaten by a saber-toothed tiger if they set a boundary. Now, they could not say to you, "I'm gonna get eaten by a saber-toothed tiger," but they start sweating, they get diarrhea, they they think that they absolutely are terrified if they set this boundary. They're gonna let someone down, they're not gonna be loved anymore. We're so used to serving that this boundary feels really big. Um, now, I mean, that's an extreme people pleasing. I'm recovering. I'm in recovery from that, but I mean, it comes in a continuum. Um, but it's very important for her to feel safe in her body. Once we really feel safe in our body, and I quit. I teach boundaries, but I have gone to really teaching nervous system regulation because a regulated nervous system, you don't have to set boundaries. That system says, not doing that. Not doing that. It's fascinating when we feel safe again. But safety is very important. Slowing, eh, slow your my therapist told me this once, "Slow your ass down, Julie." Slow down. Very
Yeah.
important.
Yeah.
Allowing yourself to be seen. We wanna be seen, but sometimes when that does happen, I mean, a compliment comes, someone reaches out, we're not in a place where we can receive it, so being sure we've done the work, that we can receive what we think well, not only what we think, but what we need. It's three-step process. We have to be able to identify it, we have to be able to accept it, and we have to be able to act on it. Um, so well, wait, I'm sorry, I said that wrong. Um, know what we need, ask for it, and then accept it. Those are 3 very difficult steps sometimes for us, but it falls under
Yep.
being seen. It falls under being safe and believing you're valuable. Those are very important things. Very, very and
Yeah.
not being pressured. Not that we don't need to be perfect, right? I promise you, we are all perfectly imperfect, and I promise we're gonna screw things up. I promise we will. And I think the biggest gift we can give ourselves is failing. It's a wonderful gift, um, and not having all these thoughts about it, but being
Yeah.
curious about it and going putting your hand on your heart chakra and going, "Sweetheart." Well, I like to put it on my face because that releases some oxytocin, and I can say, "Julie, sweetness." Always say your name first. Your brain needs to hear your name. "Sweetness, you did your very best. You did your
Yeah.
very best." Or whatever words resonate with you, and then learn whatever you need to learn from what didn't go like you hoped. I mean, that's how I've learned everything.
Yeah. I think we've all been there where we feel like, we've just got to have everything right all the time. And we can't. We just can't. We're human. Like, and it's
It's
okay to make mistakes.
it's invited to make mistakes. It's
Yeah.
absolutely fabulous to make a mistake. 'Cause
Yeah.
who says it's a mistake? So,
It's probably also too from growing up, having the kids and everything like that, that you've always needed that control. So we've also from younger years, we had to have that control. And especially for me as well, it's like letting go, releasing that control. So that's
Yeah.
really a big one. And if I don't have control, it's going to fail and it's going to fall back on me and yada yada yada. Like it's just makes sense.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
and that and we're bracing in that control. Yeah, I mean,
Mm,
if you think your body state, that's a braced
yeah.
state. Like,
Mm.
yeah. No, that's very good self-awareness of, oh yeah, that control. And and the hell of it is, y'all, the only thing we can control is right here at the end of our nose. If it's outside of us, we cannot control it. We spin
Yeah.
our wheels trying to put things in
Yeah.
place, and we cannot control how that other human is gonna respond. Um,
No,
and
we cannot.
yeah, yeah, we
Yeah.
spend so much energy.
Um,
Yeah.
well, I think a lot of women would quietly worry that this is just it, that it's not coming back. Like, especially they've gotten to that point where they're just not really feeling that desire at all anymore. And they just think, oh, well, I'm out to pasture, like I'm done. Um,
Right.
what would you say to someone who feels like that?
Well, first, I'm gonna hug her. I'm a hugger. I'm a hugger. That I warn my students. I'm a hugger. Um,
Me too. I love hugs.
yeah, hugs are that's oxytocin. It's so wonderful. But I'm gonna validate and see her. She needs to be validated. That's a lot of fear. I'm hearing fear in that. I'm
Mm.
afraid I'm done. I'm afraid what society has told me is true. I'm afraid this is it. And it is not. It is not. It's a matter. And I'm not here to tell a story. It's work. Don't get me wrong. Getting that nervous system regulated, building those new neural pathways, which takes about 60 days to get a new neural pathway in place, those are eminently attainable, but it takes a little time. And we don't do everything all at once. We do little baby steps. Um, I have and when we start to fall, when that fall happens, some unexpected things can happen and some discomfort. I mean, imagine if you hadn't been in your body in 30 years, you start going, when did that happen? Um, no. But to slowly get her re-embodied so that she can even feel where desire lives again is eminently important. I have one lady I'm working with, and she's precious, and she has worked so hard, and we've just been doing these baby steps. She probably gets a crown for being a people pleaser. She probably has the biggest crown I've awarded yet. Um, so it's taken some work to get some things defrosted. Is I don't know if y'all used to have an old refrigerator you would defrost, but that's
Yeah.
kind of what we're doing. Um, and she was to the point where I had her do a walking meditation. And I really love a walking meditation because you're not just sitting there crawling out of your skin. And it's just you feel your heel toe as you're walking, breathing in nature or so forth. And her feet started burning. I just started feel like they were on fire. I always go to your medical doctor and rule out, there's not something else going on. She did that, nothing's going on. In fact, the doctor said, "Girlfriend, I think there's something with your nervous system going on." And and it is I mean, it's gotten better, and she's, found ways to if those feet burning, come up, she has ways that she's figured out how to make it, lessen. But where's our root chakra? It's from our sits bones all the way down to our tippy toes. So that's her root chakra coming back online. That's her safety coming back online. She and she was a woman when we talked about, where, because it's their goals. I'm just their tour guide. Where do you hope to go with sex and bring desire back online? She's been with her husband about 20 years. And she was like, "We'll talk about that when that comes around." It's not something I'm excited to talk about. Well, now she's very interested. They've been experimenting with little, hand holding and little things. It's not gonna be an overnight. It's gonna be slowly coming back online with curiosity and
Yeah.
grace. Um, so it's just, do not give up hope. You are worth the investment of time because really, not a lot of money involved. All the things we need to do are really just with our body to get re embodied. So just encouragement, find a good support. Um, and you're worth the effort. You are worth the effort.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow, that's amazing.
It can come back. It can come back.
We promised it is.
Yeah.
So if someone's listening and thinking, okay, well, this is me, because this has been a big one, but also feeling a bit or a lot overwhelmed, where can she actually start?
The first thing I like to have ladies start with, and this sounds simple, well, I d it's a figure 8 in circles with her hips, just kinda waking up, that area of our body again. We've been braced for so long, we've ignored our body for so long. Oftentimes, ladies' hips can be kind of frozen, if you will. Even, these issues are in our tissues. This is not something we can think our way out of. This is something we have to go into our body and work through. So I also like a butterfly pose, a yoga butterfly pose where you're opening your legs and the fascia and your hips, that sacral and root chakra is right there. We have a lot of trauma in that area, be it ancestral or our own childbirth, whatever it might be. It's not unusual for there to be a lot of tears there. I'm also a yoga instructor, maybe where we work on these things. Flipping over to the child pose is good too, but I want her to start getting embodied and laying hands like when she's laying there in the butterfly pose, hand on chest, hand on the sacral area, and as she's doing her figure eights and just little bitty hip circles. I'm not talking belly dancer stuff. Putting a hand on your sacral chakra as well and breathing into that, just opening. And we didn't even talk about the shame that can come up. How many women have been socialized that you're not allowed to enjoy sex? What do you mean? Enjoy sex. And that's a good place to start. Just kind of trying to bring some things back online. I talked about sitting next to your partner, just holding hands. I like to put if I'm in a therapy session, a marriage therapy session, I put them back to back and regulate their breath together. That takes a lot of thinking. You're getting embodied, you're really noticing how the partner's breathing. Regulating that breath is can be very, interesting for the couple, and also turning around, holding hands, and having them gaze into each other's eyes. Like I only do it for a minute, and you'd think I had them there for 3 hours. They're like, "Are we done? Are we done?" But that gaze is so important, with your partner.
Yeah.
And I talk the non-sexual touch. I really invite if to take, um intimacy is so much more than just intercourse, right? And I
Yeah.
think as, we knew that when we were dating, right? I mean, wasn't that fun to think in fact, the name of my book, "Are We Gonna Have Sex or What?" is what I said to my husband on our first date. That
Yeah.
it's fun, it's building up, it's all the novelty is there, but then we work, we have kids, where sex becomes just this obligation without the intimacy part. So going back to intimacy, let's just I don't know. We can do foot rubs. We can do hand rubs. We can just hold hands and talk about some of our best memories together. Those things, it's that connection that's really important. And that's telling your nervous system, I can feel safe. Okay. I can get this back
Yeah.
online. And
Yeah.
and I talk about it in the book, but if you're gonna have an honest conversation about sex, about what I do or don't like, it needs to be done with clothes on at the kitchen table or on a date. We don't want anyone to feel blamed or shamed, and there's a risk if we're both naked and vulnerable in the bedroom and something's happening. Um, it's just important to have that adult conversation, but in a place where no one feels blamed, where it feels safe.
Yeah. And I think maybe what some people might be surprised by is that when you do start having those conversations with your partner, you find that they're kind of feeling similar things to you, and they're not, the men are actually, going through this kind of stuff too. It's not just us.
Absolutely.
And so that's why it is important to have those conversations.
Yeah. It's
Yeah.
shocking how many people, and because I run a department of counseling at a university, and so I train counselors into the field. And it's a 60-hour degree in the States. I don't know what that, I mean, it's a long degree. And I spend the first 3 semesters getting them comfortable in their own body about sex, because I promise when you're a therapist, someone's gonna come and talk to you about it, and they can't feel shamed, and it just it's amazing to me how many people have messages about sex and what sex means. I have, my clients and my students do a sex timeline. Um, it's much like our money story. We have ideas about money that we learned without
Mhm.
realizing we learned them. Well, we have a sex story too that we learned without realizing we learned. And going back as far as you can go back, generationally in your family. I mean, like, I know, of all things, my grandmother was born in 1913, had bulimia in, in the 20s. Who knew?
Wow.
Um, and she never admitted it, but I strongly suspect her father molested her
Mm.
just as a therapist. But all of that goes in my sex history. All the and Boomby, I call my grandmother Boomby. She also told me, she was raised in Fort Worth, Texas, back in 1913. The biggest spanking she ever got was when the neighbor came over and was pregnant, and she asked her mother about the pregnancy. We do not talk about pregnancy. So, all of that stuff goes into your sex timeline that ends up what you're living today. I invite anyone listening to put one of those together and share it with your partner. They don't know generally what they're coming to the table with. Now, no, I don't want to hear about everyone you slept with, but that. But everyone we've slept with does add to that timeline and understanding we have of our own body and sex. So that's just an aside, but I think that's an important piece as we're trying to get really comfortable and safe in our body for desire.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you so much for that. I've actually started reading your book, and I was actually, yeah, I have to say that intro that hooked you. That's a good one. I do like it when you're sitting in the car there and say, are we going to have sex or what?
Yeah, the Toyota. That's right.
Very sold of you. Yeah, it was very good. Yes, it's been very insightful so far. But what led you to write your book?
I wanted women to get connected to their bodies and have permission to feel fully alive and find that desire. We got to reignite it, perhaps. And I wanted them to have a pathway and a formula for that to happen.
Gosh, this has been such an important but a really big conversation. And I think a lot of women are really relieving one because they know that they're not on their own. So we're trying to touch on all different facets around this time, this age time bracket, I guess. Um, so they just need to know that there's nothing wrong with them. Is there one last piece of advice that you'd like to give the girls?
Absolutely. You are absolutely not too old. You are not done. And it's not too late. I used to think that sometimes, and I think we think that as women, what's it matter now? It matters. It's never too late for that homecoming. Girl, do that excavation, that identity excavation, and go to that, have a homecoming. Get all dressed up, enjoy it.
I love it. And you're right. Yes, they're definitely never too old. I always say, I will get older, but I will never be old. That's my mantra. So,
There you go. I love that. Yeah.
yeah. So thank you so, so much for joining us. I definitely feel like this is a topic that will resonate with many of our listeners, even if it's something they wouldn't probably bring up themselves necessarily. So can you tell our listeners where they can get a copy of your book?
Absolutely. On my website, www.juliemerrimanphd.com. If they join, if you buy through my website, I have a Friday group that I have, a Friday once a month, first Friday of the month at noon, I meet with ladies, and it's a bonus for the book. It's just support. It's just support to know we're not alone in this. I had a lady last time we met. She was like, "I feel like my life force is gone," and I thought, "Well, that's beautiful." That's but very beautiful. But anyway, on my book, I also have a podcast that goes with the book, "Sexy After 50," where I give lots of tips and always an exercise because I'm a professor. I'm always going to make you work. But
Oh, dear.
Always.
Can't just listen, got to do.
Yeah.
Put it in practice.
that's right.
We'll also provide those details on Dr. Jules in our show notes and share them on our socials. So if you enjoyed today's episode, please share it with a friend. Make sure to subscribe so that you never miss an episode.
And don't forget, you can follow us on the socials. So Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, at Inspired Actions Co. Or find out more about us at inspiredactionsco.com. You can also join our Inspired Actions Co. school community, can't speak today, SKOOL, that is. Thank you so much for listening, everyone. Thank you so much, Dr. Jules. It was so great to have you.
Thank you. It's great to be with y'all.
Bye for now.
Bye.